What is up, guys? This is Pinzo back with another video today, and what I have for you guys is some patch notes. I figured that I would give you guys a run through on the patch notes. I don't do this for some of the smaller patches, but this patch actually has some stuff in it that I figured I'd explain in case you guys don't quite understand. So we'll jump right into it on the patch side of things. This is the Argus patch. This patch comes out if you're watching this video on Tuesday, March 5th, when it goes live, then the patch is probably already out. But I figured I'd go over the patch notes for you guys. So, intro, this is the end of Season 3. This is the final patch of Season 3. I don't know, technically speaking, I don't know if this is the start of Season 4 or if the next content patch that we get 6 weeks from now will be the start of Season 4. I don't know, to be honest. We might be kind of in a limbo for 6 weeks. I have no idea. There are some things coming. Again, you can pause and read. I'm not going to read everything word for word for you guys. You can pause and read. I will explain stuff as we get to it. Argus is here. He's pretty cool. To summarize his abilities, his passive makes it so that whenever you hit somebody, you do bonus magic. You do more damage the more you hit somebody. It's pretty simple. His Q is a stun. It's a lob to stun. It's kind of like Morigesh Q in the arc on it. You can throw it a little farther, but it's similar. His E is a little pillar that he summons. It slows and deals damage, and at the end, it pulls everyone to the center. That's his most broken ability. If you place it underneath yourself, you jump into the air, which is pretty sweet. This is his most broken ability, I think. His right click is just a beam. Just shoot projectiles really quick. It's kind of hard to aim. It's something that you got to get used to, but really strong ability. And then his ultimate is you lock in, you stand in place, you lock in, and you shoot 3 shots. They do more damage to lower health enemies. They go really, really far. It is a projectile. You're going to have to learn how to aim it. You're going to have to learn how to aim like at a moving target kind of thing, but really cool ultimate, I think. Amber arrives. So this is the new soft currency, the free-to-play currency. You're going to get Amber I believe when the patch goes live, I think. You'll get Amber based on your account level in Season 3. So you'll get more Amber based on how high of your account level was. I don't know the exact numbers. And then you'll also gain Amber as you gain levels in the new season, because the levels will reset on the patch on Tuesday. So you'll gain Amber as you gain account levels. Amber currently is only used to unlock heroes, so just so you know. Store update, there's some stuff coming to the store. Argus has a recolor skin. It is red. All of the effects on his skin are red. All of his abilities are red. Pretty good skin, honestly. And then he has a bundle that has some extra stuff in it. Very cool. Some other skins. Crunch gets a skin. This looks kind of cool right here, but I'd have to see it in game. I also don't know how much it costs. And Twin Blast gets a skin. I know this Twin Blast skin was in Fault, and it was really good. Hopefully, it looks really good in Pred. Also, again, don't know how much it costs. Some price changes for some heroes. Very cool. Explosive Flowers. So, if you guys are League of Legends players, this is a Blast Cone. Same thing. Just does the exact same thing. You auto-attack it, and then like a second later, it explodes, and it'll boop you in whatever direction from the cone you're facing. There are some of these at the objective pits. There are some of these at 2 camp to get over the wall into river buff. And there are these on like cyan and gold buff. So yeah, they're pretty neat. I don't know exactly how much it'll change the game, but it's kind of neat. Jungle AI improvements. So this is kind of complicated. If you want to stop and read it, you can. Basically, how this works is, number 1, there is an indicator when Hunt will kill a minion. It is not a number. There are not HP bars above the minion, but there's like a little arrow above a minion's HP bar, which is the point at which Hunt will kill that minion. Not perfect, but it's better than nothing. The other thing is that minions now have I believe they're calling it a patience meter, something like that, aggression bar, which is if you're a League player, this is just patience. There's a similar thing in Smite, but it works a lot different, so I won't really compare it to Smite. But basically, when you hit a jungle camp, you can pull it outside of the jungle camp. And as you pull it far enough away from the camp, there's a little bar on top of the minions, and that bar will start going down. And when that bar hits 0, the camp will de-aggro from you. So you can pull minions outside of their camp now. Certain junglers have a lot faster clear now that it's easier to kind of group minions. You can hit a minion camp as you're going to your next camp. It's pretty interesting. I need to test around more with it to decide how much I like it or not. But it definitely does raise the skill cap of jungle, in my opinion. Item description improvements. This is really good. This is just like, it's just easier to read, in my opinion, on what items do. Matchmaking and backend improvements. You guys can stop and you guys can pause and read this word for word if you want. Backend improvements are cool. Matchmaking improvements are cool. I personally, I don't know. Like I hope matchmaking gets better. Who knows, right? Backend improvements, I don't really know what that means. To be honest, it's kind of something that I can't see. I can't really quantify it, so I just kind of take their word for it that it's good. End of season rewards, you'll get your amber and I don't know what skins, right? The emerald skins. You'll get those either when the patch goes live or shortly after. I have no idea. Account level, basically your account level is going to reset on March 5th. There will be new rewards for hitting levels. So as you hit levels, you should get new rewards. That's really cool. Controller updates, I don't know what that means. Other improvements, you can now mute pings. Good. I know a lot. I don't care about that, but I know a lot of people do care about that. New intro music plays upon a match starting. That's also really good. Hero changes. Getting into balance here. Countess. She gets some slight buffs, I think. I think these are net buffs, in my opinion. Her damage doesn't really go up a whole lot, but some of her mana economy gets better. So, like, Jungle Countess will be a lot better, I think. Mana, or mid lane Countess, excuse me. Maybe you don't have to go combustion first. I don't know. Greystone got a bug fix. I knew about this bug, but I don't know how it worked. So I don't know. Iggy gets a buff to his turrets a little bit. KWANG gets some changes here. Again, you can read these if you want. Basically, KWANG is going to be a tiny bit less durable early game, but late game, he should be pretty similar, I think. The only, like, true nerf here is that his knockup is going to be shorter. So the stun and the actual knockup height are both going down a little bit. So, and I think that's a good thing. I think KWANG's CC was a little bit oppressive. Now it'll be a little bit easier to play against. Origesh, she gets some base changes, but then her Hive gets less gravity, but more speed. From what I was told, you can throw this a tiny bit further, but it's not a crazy amount further. Otherwise, this is mostly just to make the ability feel better. This ability feels really wonky to use sometimes, so this should make it feel better. Narbash gets some slight buffs, I think. I really don't know, to be honest. Like, you're losing a little bit of healing from your passive, but an extra 1% scaling could make up for it, right? Like, this is 2.4 healing per second. So if you have 240 magical power, then this is an even change. So I guess it is a little bit of a nerf because you don't really get 200 magical power on Narbash. But overall, whatever. Narbash is fine. FaZe gets a bug fix. Rampage gets some changes here. He gets a pretty big nerf to his ultimate. The nerf to his E is just kind of to bring it in line. I think that's fine. The nerf to his ultimate's pretty big, the HP on his ult, and it gets a longer cooldown. That one's going to matter. This character is pretty good right now, so this is probably a good change. Revenant gets some base stat changes. No one cares. Richter gets actually some changes here. So again, you guys can stop and read if you want. Basically, what's happening to Richter is he's getting a little bit more damage in your kit if you have a damage item. So if you don't have a damage item, his damage, again, I've looked at the numbers and stuff. I believe his damage will be slightly lower if you don't have a damage item. But if you do have a damage item, his damage will be a little bit higher. So that's kind of how it's going. They're shifting away from some base numbers, putting it into scaling. There you go. Serith gets some changes here. Her passive finally gets nerfed. Finally. They haven't nerfed her passive forever. They're finally nerfing it. 70% cooldown reduction on your abilities instead of 75. I think that's fine. In compensation, they are buffing her right click a little bit. Or maybe, is this her? This is her right click. I'm pretty sure this is her right click. Yeah, this is her right click. It gets a little bit more base damage at rank 1, a little bit less at rank 5, but it also gets 10% scaling added to it, which is crazy. Like, that's a lot of scaling to add to an ability. As long as you have a damage item, this will be good. So I think that's a good thing. Heresy, her ultimate gets a cooldown increase. This is the only, in my opinion, this is the biggest nerf. Because solo lane Sereth especially, like jungle Sereth is fine. Like jungle Sereth will do the same thing no matter what. But solo lane Sereth really depends on this 90-second cooldown. So this might be a little harsh on solo lane Sereth, but maybe you just have to build haste on your first item. Maybe Overlord isn't the play anymore. Sparrow gets some buffs here. Her E gets an attack speed buff to it. Just the amount of attack speed you get gets buffed. And her cooldown, this looks a little funky, but this is pretty much the same cooldown. Like, realistically, this is a very, very similar cooldown to what it was before. Her ultimate also gets a bit of a buff. I don't know how much this ultimate buff will matter. Like, the damage numbers going up is always going to be impactful, but I don't play a lot of Sparrow, just to be honest, right? Like, I don't know exactly how much these number changes matter. More damage is more damage. So, you know, maybe it's more than it'll do more than I think it does. I think Sparrow's still going to have the same issues that Sparrow has always had. Wraith. Again, you can pause and read if you want to know exact numbers. What you really need to know is that Wraith is getting more auto attack damage and a little bit less damage off of his abilities. So some of these numbers look a little bit weird. Like his right click goes from 85% total physical power to 120% bonus physical power, which like that is going to be a pretty similar amount of damage. So, you know, there's that. His E gets some of the pen back, but gets a little less move speed. His Q, the mark damage no longer scales with the ability. The base damage is much lower. The power scaling is much lower. Like, this is really going to be a mark now. It's not going to be... The damage from his Q will be a lot lower, so his combo damage will be a lot lower. You're really only using this for the mark. I think, realistically, now you're going to level your Q last on this character. That would be my guess. Obviously, I haven't played it yet. That's my guess, is that you will max your right click and then your E to get the penetration, and then you'll max your Q. That's just my guess. Item changes. Eviscerator gets a bit of a buff. They giga nerfed this item. It was 30 seconds, and then they put it to 90 seconds, which was kind of insane. And they put it back to 60. We'll see how it goes, if that's good enough. Icecorn Talons gets a bit of a nerf. Alkarod gets a buff. It'll stack a little faster now. Same thing happens to Azure Core. Soul Chalice, a little bit of a power nerf. Hopefully, I would love to see this item leave the meta. I think being able to build Soul Chalice and Alchemical Rod and not finish your first item and then still get like 150 power off of it is kind of nuts. But they are toning it down a little bit, so hopefully that helps. Imperator, more crit damage, less power. Overall, probably a buff. Onyxian Quiver gets a buff to the damage. Vanquisher, slight nerf, still probably a really good item, if I had to guess. Dread, a little bit of a shift. More base prots, but the passive gets a little worse. I still think you're going to build this item in the same situations you did before. Very situational item. Echelon Cloak, more attack speed, still has the same issues. Infernum, this is where the changes start getting a little bit spicy. So Infernum loses some power and some haste, but it gains 6 flat penetration. I've been thinking about this one a lot. The question is, does this make Infernum good? I don't know. The base stats that it's losing are a lot. This is no longer like a bruiser item. You used to be able to build this on, you know, like Greystone, Bruiser Greystone, that kind of thing, right? I don't think you can do that anymore because 40 power, like losing 10 base power and 5 haste is going to make this a lot worse on Bruisers. But I do think that on Assassins, and especially Assassin solo laners, that this could be really good. I'd have to test it. I don't know yet, but I think it'll be good. Mind Razor gets a bit of a buff to offset the nerf to Soul Chalice. Painweaver gets a shift. I don't know if this makes this item buildable again. I think this item is okay, and I think that it's still buildable right now. I don't think this makes it any better, but I don't think it really makes it any worse. Perforator gets a similar change to Infernum, where it loses some power and a little bit of haste, but it gains some flat penetration. Overall, this makes this item buildable for Assassins rather than just building Demolisher every game. The difference between Perforator and Demolisher right now on killing squishy targets is nothing. There's no difference. A Feng Mao with Perforator and a Feng Mao with Demolisher will do the same amount of damage to a squishy with their abilities, right? Outside of the 10 extra power that Perforator has, the damage is the same. anyone building HP just takes more damage. So right now, Demolisher is basically just straight up better. Plus, it gives you RNG crit chance to, hit an auto attack cancel and do an extra 300 damage. Right now, there's just no reason to build Perforator. So they're giving you a reason to build Perforator. I do think now Perforator will be much better against squishy targets than Demolisher is. Against tanks, obviously Demolisher is still better. Carries are not going to be picking up Perforator or anything like that. But against squishy targets, now there's a reason to build Perforator. Basilisk gets a nerf. Good. Berserker's Axe gets a bit of a change. I think this is an overall buff, to be honest, at least on a Bruiser. Like, if you're building Bruiser Xeris, I think this might be good. I'd have to test it a little more. Bonesaw, bug fix, Draconum gets a buff. I don't know exactly how good this is going to be. I think that it could be good on characters like Chimera now, and maybe Rampage. I think this could be a pretty buildable item. Still does not have HP on the item, which makes it kind of bad. It'd be pretty broken if it had HP on it, but without HP, it's a little bit tough to build this every game, but I think that this makes it better. Mutilator gets a buff to the damage on it. This item is still really good right now, or at least really good on the characters that it's good on, aka Crunch, maybe Xeris some games, but this will help it out. I don't know if it makes it really good or not, Overlord, a little more damage, a little less HP. Same with Tainted Blade. Azure Core, same change that went into Alchemical Rod. Magnify, a little more power. Megacosm gets a shift here. More power, less haste, but it costs less. So I do think that Megacosm will still be good. It will just be a little bit less haste on that first item. They did the same thing to Oathkeeper. More power, less haste. 25 haste on an item is kind of insane. It's like 20% CDR. I think it's a lot. This is a good change. Wraith Leggings, movement speed goes down. Good. I think they should just remove the movement speed from that item. I think it's OP. Requiem buff, who cares? Windcaller buff, who cares? Elefrost gets a bit of a shift. More base damage, more prots, but less health scaling. Overall, this item I think will do a little bit less damage. It won't be a crazy amount different. And it gains some armor. Good. And then Tainted Guard gets a cost increase. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it. I haven't seen any bug fixes in the end here that are huge. Some of the bug fixes like Richter bug and stuff are getting fixed, but those were listed under the heroes. So yeah, hopefully if you guys had any questions that clarified it. If you do still have questions, let me know down in the comments below and I will see what I can answer for you guys. But that is all I've got for you guys today. So as always, guys, I've been Pinzo. This video's donezo. Thank you guys for watching and I will see you guys in the next one.